I'm here in Manchester streaming with my co-host Jesus. Jesus, welcome to the UK, I should say first.
Actually, we're still streaming separately. We just did a really good job with the green screening and the lighting and everything that it looks like we're together, but we're not.
What's up, everybody? I can see so many fantastic people in the chat. RB, what's up? Zeta Study, Steve Festus, hello, nice to see you. It's been a while. Ciao. Sam Peterson, nice to see you. RB says, Kladi and Jesús, il giorno con Babbo Natale, which in Italian means the day with Father Christmas, I guess. Are you Father Christmas?
I guess. Your mic's a little loud, so let me try moving this over here and seeing if that works.
Hi Laura, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who don't know what Rework It is about, during this wonderful time together, we are going to be reworking your work. So you have the chance to be featured. Tomorrow we actually have the very last...
Your audio.
I'm just...
that is a little low. So let me, you know what? Who cares if the microphone shows up? Let's just make sure that people can hear us. Sorry about that.
Yeah, probably we can bring it here.
It's going to be like over my face, but... Let us know if that sounds better now that we're getting it closer to us.
But I was just saying, so for those of you who don't know what Rework It is about, during this time together, we're going to be reworking your artwork that you submit for this wonderful stream. But let me show you how you can submit the work. So I'm going to jump real quick into my screen over here in order to show you what this is all about. If you head on iamkladi.com/reworkit, you'll be able to find this blue button here where it says submit your design, and all you have to do is to click once in order to open the form and submit your work. All we need is your email, of course a JPEG or any sort of file that you want of a branding project, composite project, anything to do with InDesign, Illustrator or Photoshop.
Still very low.
Oh, so we can shout I guess, but let me just get it from here. I don't know when it says the sound is very, very low. Maybe we can take it up a notch from here, or does that make any sense?
No, that's for the microphone. No, here, let me. All right, so I'm not sure why it's very low.
What about from the back? Is that gonna make any change?
Yeah, that will make some change.
In the meantime, I can shout. I'm sorry if it now, if for now it's it says it sounds the mic is not on. Oh, we are connected. We promise we are connected. So
it's like we're being picked up from a mic on a laptop, they're saying.
Oh, that's really
testing.
Weird.
Yeah, let us know if you can hear us any better now. I'm trying to adjust the microphone here. Is that any better? Let us know.
We're just shouting. Okay, I'm just checking here. It looks like the only microphone that we have is that our lovely Yeti is always test. Usually been very, very helpful with us.
Yeah. Let me.
Oh, you know what? It's just it might be because wait a second. Because when we stream with Zoom.
Oh, that's definitely way better. So apparently, whatever I did over here is way better.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Perfect. We did it. We didn't know we do it, but we did it. So when I stream with Zoom with you, because you're usually in California,
yeah.
So we use a software to connect with Zoom. But right now, of course, we are not through Zoom. We are from here. So sorry, guys. Thank you so much for letting us know. We're back. So as I was saying, make sure to head on iamkladi.com/reworkit in order to submit your work and be featured in this stream. We are going to start with one artist in particular. We're going to do the first artist of the day reveal today in just a second. But as I said, all I have to do is to click on the big blue button and open the form and submit your work and give us some information. Also, it's very useful to understand if you have any specific questions or anything that you wish to clarify for your work. Fantastic. Once you submit your work, all we do then is send you an email saying you're going to be featured. And in fact, Jesús is going to, and I'm going to reveal the first artist of the day, which is Emma P, which is from Bulgaria. Go and give her a follow. I can see here some work that we did doing the Adobe Creative Cloud and the Illustrator Creative Challenge. It's breakfast time, so let's go ahead and have a little look and see. Oh, you did a fantastic job. Go ahead and give Emma a follow. You can see more about her work over here. But right now we're going to jump into Jesús' screen because we're going to start with some Photoshop tips and we're going to rework your work, Emma. If you wish to have your work reworked, don't forget we got tomorrow Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign files. We look forward to see your submission for our last day of the year in Rework It. So Jesús,
that's right. Tomorrow's our last day doing the Rework It show. So make sure you submit your. I'm guessing, if you have specifically, if you have any Illustrator or InDesign files, make sure you submit those because we need more of those.
We have a lot of Photoshop. We have a lot of Photoshop files, but I would really love to dig deep and work on Illustrator and InDesign. And don't worry if you think that they're messy or, it's not about being perfect. It's about reworking stuff together, getting inspiration. We learn all the time. I learn from Jesús. I learn from you. So fantastic. Flynn is in the chat as well, all the way from Australia. Nice to see you, Flynn.
Hey, Flynn. How's it going? Good to see you in the chat.
But it's just we are in your screen. So
we're in my screen. Yes. Oh, there we go. We're looking at Emma's page again from Bulgaria. Thank you so much for submitting your Photoshop file. And this is the file that Emma submitted, and it's a composite. It's a really cool composite of this polar bear eating a fish. I'm guessing he's eating him. Maybe he's giving him a hug. I'm not really sure, but
I don't think he's gonna get a hug.
Yeah. So that's what the composite is. And the reason that I chose it is because there's a couple of things in here that I think Emma could fix that could really improve the composite to make it much better without doing too much work. So I think it's a good one to look at. First tip of the day, if you click and drag down on the eye icons, you can just disable them all. So I'm just going to disable all the layers just because I want you guys to see what Emma has here. First of all, she's got this blank layer here, layer 1. I'm just going to delete it because I'm like a big proponent that if you have layers there that are not doing anything, just delete them. Because I see that Emma has a background layer, which is this one, this color fill layer. And then she has this gradient. Something really cool that Emma did here that I don't see a lot of people do is she's using the dissolve blending mode. So good job on that, Emma. The dissolve blending mode is alongside the normal blending mode, the only two blending modes that do not change unless you bring down the opacity. So what Emma did here is she just brought down the opacity on this blending mode and created this dither effect, which is super cool. Let me try to undo that and get it back to where she had it. I think I went back too far, but anyway. Great job on using the dissolve blending mode. I haven't seen too many people use it, so it's good to see someone using it. And again, another blending mode, dissolve, and then this blending mode to create that effect. So she used all these layers to create this background, which is totally cool.
And by the way, so sorry, I wanted to say that Emma is in the house.
Oh, awesome. So hey, Emma, good to see you.
I'm here.
Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, wait, what time is it in Bulgaria? And by the way, I don't think we've asked people, where are you guys watching from? Let us know what time it is. It's 11:10 or 11:10 here in the UK. So
probably I think it will be midnight.
Midnight in Bulgaria. Well, thank you so much for staying up late. That's commitment. Yeah, for staying up late here with us, Emma. Cool. I like the dissolve blending mode. Yeah, it's a cool mode. Like I said, not a lot of people use. So then we're gonna go up into the bear layer. She's got two layers here, and it looks like on this first layer, she didn't do that good of a job of masking, but it looks like on the second layer, it improved a bit. But the problem is that it's too soft. It's the bear's almost glowing, and it doesn't look realistic. So what I would recommend in a situation like this, the easiest way, I guess, would be to probably go into the selected mask workspace. And I'm going to work in the black and white view so you can see the mask. See how the mask is really blurry? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase the contrast and probably increase it more just to have sharp edges. So we're going to have sharp edges that are not going to be much better, but I think it'll work once we're done. Then I'm going to go into filter, other, minimum to minimize the mask, and I'm going to contract it maybe another 3 pixels and press OK. That's just going to push the mask in a bit more. And the reason I did that is so that I can now have some room to work with and paint the fur back in with a brush. There's so many free brushes online that you can find for fur. You can actually use one of the brushes built into Photoshop. If you select the brush tool and you go into your brush, into your brushes, there is a folder that I don't think I have enabled here, which is good, is the legacy brushes. So if you go into your brushes drop down and click on the gear icon, you can go into legacy brushes and it'll create a new folder here when you press OK. And there it is, legacy brushes. And when you expand that, you'll see the default brushes, and we have a, oh, by the way, it's new feature in Photoshop. You don't even have to search for it anymore. There's a new search bar in here. Photoshop 2021 added these search bars for the presets inside the brushes panel. So I can just type in grass and we get to this dune grass brush. We can select it, and I'll show you how this brush works. Let me just create a new layer up here and just paint with it. And that was actually the worst example ever. Let me just make it black and increase my brush size. And this is what that brush does. And let me increase the opacity and flow. There you go. Finally, that's what that brush does. It creates this grass effect, but we can use this to paint the fur back in. Before we do so, let's open up the brush settings. And from here, we can disable the color dynamics. So what the color dynamics is doing is it's taking the background and foreground color and then painting with that brush all the colors in between, basically a gradient, so you can see different levels of gray. I think it'll be more obvious if I select red and then something completely different like blue and I paint. You'll see what that does. See how it paints red, blue, and then different shades of purple. So that's what the color dynamics is doing, and we don't want that. We just want it to paint one single color, so in this case black. So that works great. I don't think we need to make any more adjustments for now. What I'll do is I'll just delete this layer. And what I can now do is go into this layer mask and I can just paint the fur in. I can hold shift and click on the layer mask to see how the fur originally looks and sort of see the flow of the fur. So in this case, it looks like it's maybe coming down a little bit. So I can enable my brush tool and then use the arrow keys to rotate it. See how I'm rotating the fur now, like so. And I need to flip it on the x-axis, so I can go into the brush settings, and from my brush tip shape I can flip it on the x-axis. And wait, now I gotta rotate it even more. I should have flipped it on the x-axis first. But anyway, let me rotate the fur like so, try to make it match, and bring down the size by tapping on the left arrow key. And I can paint. That's obviously way too much, so I can undo that and then come down and see how this looks. So it's just a little bit of a trial and error. And that's again a little too much. I'll zoom in more so I can get a better view of this.
By the way, Sus, for MFP is 1 in the morning.
Oh wow!
So be kind. Want to send it
Definitely.
to sleep with very some fun tips and fun advice in Photoshop. Hopefully, you're gonna have some nice brush dreams. And by the way, has that ever happened to you? Steve, RB, I saw Seth also in the chat. Does it ever happen to you to dream about your project? That's something that is recurring to me. I'm working on a very specific project lately, and I keep dreaming about like work that I have to do. So I wish I could actually work when I'm asleep, be very much catched up. Has it ever happened to you, Sis?
Yeah, when I used to do coding, I was having a coding issue with PHP. And I couldn't figure it out, and I remember spending the whole day trying to figure out this problem. And when I mean the whole day, I mean the whole day. It was like a 16-hour work day in the computer, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I went to sleep, and when I fell asleep, during my sleep, I had a dream on how to solve the issue, and that was the solution. So I solved it in my dream.
That's amazing.
So it's definitely happened. Anyway, I'm not going to spend, the entire day painting in the bear's fur, but you can see how that's looking much better. And actually, let me just for the purposes of demonstration, let me create a solid color background layer, and you can see how the fur looks. So that looks much more realistic than, say, the fur. And I know this is not what you originally had. I know, if you remember, it was blurry, it was soft, so it was much more realistic than that. But the point is that now you can spend your time and you can paint in the fur. Just keep following the edges and just paint that in like so. And that's why we contracted the mask, and I also used the minimum filter so that I can go in and have some room to play with. And again, I'm going quickly here. I'm not really following the shape of the fur, but you can definitely rotate your brush and scale it accordingly so that it looks more realistic. Maybe something like that, you know. And obviously maybe this is a little too big, but you get the idea. So that's what I would recommend doing on the fur rather than just blurring it. And by the way, if I zoom in really close, you might think, well, that doesn't look too realistic. But when I'm at the 100% view, that looks much, much better. And also, depending on the depth of field in the image, you might have to come in here. And with the blur tool, you may need to blur some of these a little bit depending on the actual blur in the image. So you can actually use the blur tool on the mask as well. So you have all these different tools, all these different options, and obviously spend some time using the tools that make your composite more realistic. So we can keep working on the mask, but I think you guys get the idea. So I'm going to take the lazy way out of this, and I'm going to apply a should I just stroke this? I'm trying to think of the easiest way to do this. If I create a layer selection around the bear, I can probably create a path around my bear like so, and then I can stroke my path using one of the vector tools. We have the stroke path option, and I can select the brush tool, and then the setting that I have on the brush tool, the last setting I use on the brush tool is what will be applied here. So I'll press OK, and we'll see what happens.
By the way, it's just a couple things we have. As Steve says, my dad, what are you doing up? It's like midnight, 1 in the morning in Italy. Go to sleep. Ciao, papa. Buonanotte.
Oh, your dad is in the chat?
Yes.
Ciao, Guido.
And by the way, George Carmona is asking, is he working off of a laptop? I think they're used to see you on the big screen from your computer. Yes,
right.
We're both working from a laptop and streaming from a big iMac. I'm here, still team a Mac for now, and Asus is on a MSI laptop. So
that's right. Yeah. So anyway, so like I said, you can spend more time. What I did there is I stroked the mask and the mask, and it just created it automatically for me. It's not as good as if I would have done it by hand, but you know, if you get lazy, I guess that's one way you can do it. You can see that it creates some issues in certain areas, but you can do that if you want. So let me, a couple other things that you can improve in here, Emma, is the coloring. So you added a solid color fill layer set to color. The color blending mode sets the layer's hue and saturation to the layer, takes the hue and saturation from your current layer, and it takes the luminosity from the layer below. And which is great. It works great in a lot of cases. But if you wanted more control, what I would recommend that you do is create a hue and saturation adjustment layer, and you're going to set it to color as well. But before I do that, let me show you why. So with this adjustment layer, just click on colorize, and now the slider controls the color that the bear becomes. So if I select the blue that's here, that's the color that the bear will become. If I uncheck colorize and I select the same blue, the bear becomes yellow, and that's because we're shifting the hues. So you can think about the color wheel. So we can go 180 degrees one way or 180 degrees the other way, which is why this slider goes up to 180 on one side and negative 180 on the other side. But we can colorize the image, and now we go from 0 to 360. And we can just select the blue that we want the bear to be, and we can control the saturation. The problem happens when we control the lightness, which is the brightness. So the problem here is that if we make them dark, we lose all contrast. If we make them bright, we lose all contrast, and it just looks flat. So I don't like using this slider for that. So technically what we're doing is doing kind of what you did, selecting the color blending mode, and then just adjusting these sliders to control the image. I'm just going to leave this set to 0 here, and then just, like I said, set the color and the saturation using these sliders. And then right below that hue and saturation adjustment layer, I'm going to create a levels adjustment layer. And now I have 5 sliders that control the brightness of this bear. So I can increase, adjust the gamma here, maybe make my brightest pixels darker. So I can start making more adjustments and making this look much better. And actually, let me disable the black background so I can see the background that you created. So now this gives you more control and you can really get that bear looking the way that you want. Also, something that I would recommend doing is adding a curves adjustment layer, maybe bringing the white point down a little bit and increasing the darkness, then making this layer mask completely black. So I'll hit an invert, and then I can paint with white on areas where I want to increase the shadows. This is basically dodging and burning. So I'm going to tap on the right arrow key the right bracket key to increase my brush size, and I can bring down the opacity a bit, the flow a little bit, and I can just paint in, build up the shadows on my bear like so. Just because the bear is way brighter than it should be if this was, you know, quote unquote realistic, which is, you know, clearly not. But you can start adjusting the shadows and things like that to make the bear look better before and after. So you can start shaping the bear.
So sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I wanted to take this time for you to ask you a question, because when I started to work with dodge and burn, they sounded like such a random terms. So I just think that if you give us like a little insight on what each tool does, just, you know, not, because I think sometimes we kind of take for granted that we know something about a tool, and when the name of the tool is not necessarily so explicit, I think that having you here would be great to know a little bit more about it.
I mean, these are all photography terms. Like, you were literally dodging and burning like an actual photo, like when people used to develop pictures with film. So this is where the names come from. Burn tool simply means that you make something darker. Dodging means that you make something brighter. So dodging and burning just means making something darker or brighter. And, you know, instead of using these tools, you can use an adjustment layer like I did here, or you can use the curves adjustment layers or levels adjustment layer. Like, oh my God, I can't talk today. I used move the mic closer. Maybe that'll help. So I used a curves adjustment layer to dodge and burn the layer, but you can use a 50% gray layer and do it that way. And I guess since we're talking about it, I'll show you what that means. So I used a curves adjustment layer to burn. I could have also used it to dodge. So instead of making the layer darker, I could have made it brighter, and then that will be dodging. But anyway, 50% gray layer. I can create a new layer, hold shift and backspace to bring up the fill window, set my contents to 50% gray, press OK. That makes the layer actually gray. It's not blue. It's only blue because of the adjustment layer. And then I can change the blending mode to either overlay or soft light, or just go with overlay. It's a stronger effect. And on this 50% gray layer, with my burn tool, I can make these pixels darker. See that? Basically the same effect. See that? And then I can go into the dodge tool and I can make other pixels brighter. We'll say pixels on this side, before and after. See how I'm just changing the lighting just by doing dodging and burning?
Super cool.
And you might be wondering, well, why did you use the curves adjustment layer? The reason I use the curves adjustment layer is because I have the flexibility, you just saw it, of changing the intensity. If I was a little heavy-handed, I can come in and just reduce the intensity and adjust it accordingly just to get a better result. With the dodging and with the 50% gray layer, I don't have that flexibility. But, you know, you can use either or, whatever works for you. Let me see the fish now, because I know we got to get to you, Kladi, in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But we have this fish here, and it has this hue and saturation adjustment layer. In this case, I wouldn't recommend doing the colorize thing that we did earlier, because it'll turn the fish, you know, one single solid color. And in this case, the fish has white areas or gray areas as well. So in this case, it's okay to shift the hues rather than colorizing all the pixels on that image. And then you have this color fill layer that I guess does what I just said, colorize the entire thing. So I'm not really sure why you use two. We'll use the hue and saturation adjustment layer. I would just disregard. Well, first of all, I would use the hue and saturation adjustment layer, but I wouldn't use both. So I would probably do the same technique that I showed you just a moment ago. Colorize, select that color, and adjust the intensity from here to the saturation, and then do the same thing. Use a levels adjustment layer and control the brightness using 5 sliders as opposed to the 1 in the hue and saturation adjustment layer. So just adjust it accordingly. I would also recommend adding shadows here, and you can add shadows in a lot of different ways. For example, I'm just going to disable these 2 layers, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to select a color here that's found in the shadows, and I'm just going to paint over this fish using just a soft brush and trying to figure out where the shadows would be. And there wouldn't really be a light source coming from the bottom, so I would just paint away those highlights there. Maybe paint away these highlights as well, because his arm is covering his body, so you wouldn't really have those strong highlights on there. So I'm just painting these shadows by hand, like so.
Super cool. The fish looks so cute, by the way.
The fish does look really cute. So before and after, see that? And I can now enable the other adjustment layers, and I think I was a little heavy-handed on that shadow, but since it's in its own layer, I can just reduce the opacity and just try to make it match as best as possible. I think the saturation's a little too strong, so I would reduce that a little bit. So just try to get things to match as best as possible with brightness, with saturation, and all these different things. Big Fish, yeah, Big Fish. That's a good movie too, as well.
By the way, Steve, I don't know if anyone has seen this little cut here. Do you know what this cut is?
Yeah.
He knows. Do you know, guys, what this cut is?
Who the cat is?
Who the cat is? Yeah, it's a special cat. It's not Frida. It's not Mr. Meow. That's a very special cat. Can we give some hints?
Well, let's see what people start saying if they know or don't know.
Let's see if we can find that out. I just saw myself wearing it. I was like, oh, little kitty's here. So yeah, Martha was loving the fur. It looks like everyone is really excited regarding this feature that you're showing. There is like any last minute tips or any questions in illustration before?
Yeah,
in Photoshop.
Before we switch over. Yeah, the one thing that I would also recommend, Emma, is to, you can do this so many ways. You can just add a black and white adjustment layer or a hue and saturation adjustment layer and bring down the saturation. Anything that you can do to see the brightness of the image so that you can get a better sense of what you have here. So in this case, it looks like I made the bear way darker than the background. I don't know if I necessarily like that, so I can come in and make those adjustments to try to make the image look better. But it's totally up to you. I always think that working in black and white helps you better see what you're doing. And also, like, I see some of these highlights that I don't like there, so I would probably go in there and paint with white to reveal more of those shadows on my dodge layer on the curves adjustment layer that I created, something like that. Also, something that I think will be nice here is to have a contact shadow, so that bear would create a shadow wherever he's standing. So I'll just I'll select the color of the background, and I'm just gonna paint right where he is on this layer, change the blending mode to multiply so that we can see what's going on, and just paint that. Maybe even make it a little darker. That's a little bright, but I'm just using the same color there, like so. Maybe even darker. Oh, I almost got too black. But the point is that I'm just adding to that shadow and just creating these shadows where his feet will be making contact on the ground plane there, something like that. Obviously take your time, but I think that something like this, even though I did it quickly, I think that looks much better than not having any shadows at all. And sometimes, like in this case, I don't think I did that good of a job, so I'm just gonna blur it just a tiny little bit. Let me see, that's too much. Maybe about 8 pixels in this case, just so that it's not so sharp. And here's another trick. Usually if I do something that's a little sharp and I blur it and it still doesn't look good to my eye, I just use the up arrow key just to nudge it up a couple pixels so it hides more of those pixels. But again, having a contact shadow is much better than not having a shadow. What I'm gonna do now is go into the history panel. I'm gonna click on this little camera icon to create a snapshot. And now I have the original image and the edited version. So, you know, you can, it looks like I accidentally moved the bear and I didn't even realize when I moved them, but you can see the different in colors. You may like one better than the other, but you know, these are my suggestions for Emma and how she can improve her composite. Obviously, you want to spend a lot of time fine-tuning the small details. I think you did a good job overall, but I'm sure you could do the same technique that I used on the fur, and that alone will improve your composite so much more.
So we have a winner. We have a winner, which is Michelle. Yes, it's Goose from Captain Marvel.
Yes.
So I think it's like an alien cat that then transformed into an... Probably we shouldn't say just in case.
Well, everybody's seen Avengers. Who has not seen Avengers and wants to see it?
I'm just going to keep quiet just in case you haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. But that's little Goose. Yes, absolutely. So, Michelle, you should win something because I feel that she was the only one guessing right. Emma P says, I will make a manicure. Fantastic. Right. It's time to change up and have a little fun in Illustrator.
All right.
So I'm going to switch over to my screen. See if we can see it here. And as you can see here, we have an amazing illustrator that we're going to be featuring today. Her screen name is 952 Design, and I'm just going to zoom in so you can really see there. Behance.net/952 Design, and that's the profile of Lisa Fernandez Carlson. So Lisa is a Swedish graphic designer and lives in Malaga, Spain. I've just seen that. I used to live in Malaga for about a year studying Spanish, so it would be wonderful to meet up back in Malaga. It's a lovely, wonderful place in the Costa del Sol. MFA is still saying thanks for the tips, Jesus.
Oh, you're welcome, Emma.
Fantastic. So as you can see, Lisa Fernandez, Risa is doing a lot of wonderful work, and maybe we can do the rework it in Spanish. ¿Podemos hacerlo en español? I'm just joking, of course. English strictly. So I was just admiring her work because, you know, it's time to rework it, but also I love to use this time to really shout out at the wonderful work that you all are doing. And it looks like Lisa is really taking her time to develop her wonderful illustration. I love the way these portraits are made, and something that I try, and that's, you know, that's probably, we can use Lisa portfolio as an example. Simply by putting her illustration in a circle, giving a sort of continuity with the work, she managed to create different illustrations that not necessarily belong to the same theme, not necessarily belong to the same product. They also have different color palettes, but just because she presented to us everything in a circle, it really gives a better idea of having a sort of project feeling. It looks professional, it looks clean. There is, you know, maybe I would have loved having a little bit more of description, just like 2 lines and nothing crazy, but just a little bit more of maybe the tool that she used or something like that, just a description maybe of the work itself. But I think that it's wonderful that just with a simple use of a clipping mask, which we're gonna show in a second, she was able to achieve this professional look and really capture the beauty of her illustration, because what she's really doing there is really bringing my attention down to her work. So that work definitely caught my eye. And as you can see, she loves to do work related to fashion, makeup, and a lot of portrait illustration. The one that we're gonna have a look in particular now is this one here. So we're gonna be opening that in Illustrator in a second. And this work is a representation of her favorite characters in one of the, so that's, sorry, I was just reading there, her own version of the poster of the amazing television series Big Little Lies. As you can see here from my tab, I was doing a little research. Let me know in the chat if any one of you has seen Big Little Lies. Have you ever seen it before?
I've never seen it.
I think it's something like on the same line of Desperate Housewife, like a murder investigations or sorts.
Desperate Housewives is murder investigations?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right to me. I've never seen it, but
You don't know about it.
Yeah, let us know in the chat because that doesn't seem right.
Either I was watching something completely different. I'm saying.
I thought, isn't it? Oh, I don't know.
I think so. I hope I'm not getting confused. I think you're getting confused.
I don't know. I mean, I'm
It's like,
probably
I don't know.
confused.
He's like, I don't know. It's not about Photoshop.
I don't really watch that much TV, so I don't. I mean, I watch show. I mean, not
That's
to
a
that I
lie.
watch TV.
That's not a big little lie. That's a very
No,
big lie.
But I have like
You watch shows.
I have a couple of shows that I have a couple of shows that I watch, but I'm not like watching TV all day long. Like I have.
See, Golden Rose said that it's true. Desperate Housewife all started with a murder because all about like suspicious,
All right.
like
All right.
neighbors
Fair enough.
and noisy things and stuff like that. So yes, I didn't say something silly, but I guess that this other TV show, Big Little Lies, is more about the actual murder investigation. I haven't seen it at all. I was planning actually to see it after I seen this illustration. Oh, see, in Desperate Housewife, the narrator is actually the deceased person. Fantastic, Golden Rose. Thank you so much. You made my evening.
Oh, and it takes place in Monterey, California. Nice.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
You know what? I was probably thinking of like the Real Housewives of New York or something.
That's a TV. That's a reality show, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, sorry. We're watching different programs. Right. But let's jump on into Illustrator. So as you can see, Lisa has done this wonderful portrait of her characters, and I'm gonna open the file up. Here it is. And she wanted to know, so that's the file. All I did is just create a copy so I can work on the side, and then we can do a little bit of before and after. But what her main question was regarding giving some textures, maybe bringing the photo into Photoshop to add even more texture, and maybe I was thinking also to create something that was a little bit more contextual, like she did in a previous project. In here we just have a series of close-up and just the main illustration. So I thought that having spent so much work in this piece, it would have been nice to contain it in a way in which it looks more like finished up. So and as she did previously. So let's try and find a way. Maybe we can also create like one circle per character.
Okay.
So I've seen that she started inserting a little sort of textures by using brushes. So if you see here, we have, if we look in the layers panel, we have a layer called details. And let's go ahead and see what this layer controls. So we have mainly the facial features and eyebrows and stuff like that. And then we have dibujo, which is design, which is the main color. And then we have the background. So I think she's done a pretty good job. I will be a little bit more detailed. I usually start any illustration with 3 layers. And by the way, if you don't know how to create the layers, all you have to do is to click on the little plus icon at the bottom of the layers panel in order to create a new layer. And you have to double click on the new layer in order to name it. So I usually start with 3 layers, which are background, middle ground, and foreground. And that's how I start to build my design. And then I would go per character in creating an artboard per single character. So for example, if I have to move, let's say just this character over here, and maybe I can actually show you how that works. So all I have to do here is to simply click and drag over the design in order to select the area that I want. In this case, I selected this lady. Sorry, I don't know the name of the characters here. And then I'm going to press Command C to copy it. And then I'm going to paste it over this new layer.
You should know the name of the characters. Should have done your research. See, my bear's name is Tony. I researched it.
How did you know? It is not Tony.
The bear's name is Tony.
I'm going to tell Tony. So I'm going to call this one
Tony the Bear.
Character 1. And as you can see, the beauty of having the layer split per character is then if, for example, I want to make sure that she doesn't get touched when I actually start to work on the background or on other characters. I can just lock the layers, or I can also simply click on this blue icon over here, oops, once the layer is unlocked, in order to very quickly select just the character. And of course you can press on Command G to group this layer, and if we have to move her somewhere, we just have the entire I think I also borrowed the shoulder and the hair of the other lady here, I'm sorry, but all I'm trying to say is that try to be really mindful in the way that you build your layers. It's very different from Photoshop. In Photoshop you might be working with effects and, you know, just kind of piling it up, and also in Illustrator is as important to keep the stack in order, because everything that is above, look, if I'm going to bring her, for example, below the background, not inside, just try to make sure that she's below, we don't see it because of course the background is on top, so the order of the visibility also is reflected in the order of the layer stack here in Illustrator. But it's also very important to think in terms of how you want to isolate the character. So what I was saying before, maybe if we want to play with something like having a sort of cameo, do you say that, like a sort of icon per each character, so we can really lift and showcase the beauty of this composition, is nice to be able to access each single character, each single element of the composition really quickly by using layers. So that was my first advice, to really make sure that we focus on that work. Also, I can see here that during the design there are some shapes that are a little bit off, which is completely fine. It happens very often when working in Illustrator. Those are the first stage of the drawings. You can switch into the outline mode by pressing Command Y on a Mac. That's Control Y on a Windows. And as you can see, that shows you the different outline that build up the design. So all it is we just literally focus on the line that build the drawing. And in this case, we have all these overlapping little paths. If you want to make sure that those don't get in the way, because when we're going to start to bring in color, look what happens. If I start to bring color to this part of the face, I'm just going to doing something silly here and change it to blue. But let's say they want to change all her face, want to make her an avatar. We're going to take it into avatar land.
Spoilers, please.
No spoilers.
For Avatar.
We're going to have certain area of her face which are now going to not be able to change and adapt with the rest of the area of the face. So we want to make sure that we keep this consistent. And in order to do so, all you have to do is to click one shape, then hold shift and click of the rest of the shapes that are here isolated, and then we can use our lovely shape builder tool, which is located on the toolbar. I'm going to zoom in so you can have a little look of the icon. And with the shape builder tool, there are two ways of working. As you can see at the moment, there is our selection arrow and then a little plus, and that tells us that we're going to be creating a shape. So all you have to do is simply click and drag in order to unite a shape, and then you can do that again over here. So in this case, we literally created a new shape. As you can see from the drawing, it just overlaps the top of the other shape. And if there are elements that you want to erase, so let's say we want for now erase the mouth, we just want to create a hollow shape, all you have to do is to press Option on Mac and Alt on Windows in order to go from creating a shape into the erase mode of the shape builder tool. And this will allow you to delete an entire area. So as you can see, that's how you can change the order of rearrange the shape and make sure that you can unite. I'm gonna press Command Z and undo because we're just going a little crazy here with the shape of different colors. Now I don't know if I made her eye pink or that's the way she had it. No, fantastic. That's her design style, which, you know, that's absolutely fine. I'm never gonna dream of changing the illustration styles. In probably the majority of design that I've seen, this part of the eyes is white, but I think that is fantastic that Lisa is selecting a way of working. The most important thing is that she will keep that consistent, and she's done so. So that's her style. That's absolutely amazing. I think that when you go ahead and start to pick the way that you work, that really, you should really carry it on. So well done in doing that. So let's jump now into the main question, which was how to create a little bit of textures. So the textures there, she was suggesting and she was asking how to do that in Photoshop. Something that I wanted to show that probably nobody or not everybody really use is the fact that you can access Photoshop effects inside Illustrator. And I'm gonna do so, for example, just taking the hair as a little example here. So I'm just gonna make sure that I go ahead and I unlock the layers that I need. See, for example, right now I didn't know where the layer were located. So if I wanted to lock the other layers, I don't know where the layer were there. So that's why when you have such a nice structured illustration, and in particular we want to focus on one character and develop a more characteristic on it, really try to keep that together in its own layer. Okay, so I'm gonna press Command C to copy the hair, and I'm just gonna paste it on the side because we just wanna have a little play with texture here. We already have a gradient, as we can see, a gradient that goes from white to yellow. At the moment, I'm just gonna go ahead and make it black just to start. And it looks like there is also an outline, or there is, oh, it looks like there are more shapes. That's the beauty of working with other people files that you don't know what is there. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead under object and head to compound path to see if there is a path or if there is a mask. Again, because I'm exploring someone else's file, so I just want to make sure that there is none. As you can see, release is not in white. That tells us that there is nothing to release, so it's definitely not a compound path and neither a mask. So all I'm gonna have to do now is just simply click onto it, and let's start by applying a different color. So I'm gonna start with white, and then you can go ahead and click on the gradient tool. Are you? I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh no, I'm just reading. Steve said, I just had heard a great song by a blues player. She's what the blues looks like, because they were saying that the character was really blue when you made it.
Oh yes, yes.
Have you heard any great songs lately?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, someone has been playing the same thing on TikTok with a lady repeating the same song, which is, I don't know if you want to do that.
I'm not going to do it.
Caught in a Bad Romance or something like that.
Caught in a Bad Romance.
Yeah. So Asus is TikTok addicted.
Yeah, you know what I was saying earlier, I don't really watch TV, but man, I do spend a lot of time watching TikTok.
And there is this song that apparently is very popular on TikTok at the moment, and Asus really spends a lot of time on it.
Let us know if you've heard any other good songs besides She's What the Blue Looks Like.
Okay, fantastic. As you can see, I'm starting to create a little gradient here, and I just really want to see what's going on inside this artwork, because it looks like that there is like a... Oh, here we go. So as you can see what happened there were two colors layered one on top of the other. So I was like, that looks almost like as if it's an ochre color. It doesn't look like it's white. So you can also simply click and drag out a color from the little bar in order to delete it. And you can go ahead and click under the bar if you wish to create more colors. At the moment, all we need is a black and white color. Then all we have to do is to go ahead and head to our appearance panel right here. And then from here, you can see any appearance that is being applied to the image. So it looks like there is already a grain applied, but the grain is applied within the color. The way that I would like to show how to use this effect is slightly different. So at the moment, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this effect. And by the way, if you don't know and if you never use the appearance panel, you can find it under the window menu and select appearance. And when the appearance panel here shows up, you'll be able to add more fills or strokes, as you can see by clicking on the icon, or as I mentioned, add effects. If you click on the effect button located at the bottom of the panel, you'll be able to access Illustrator effect. As you can see, you can create crop marks or transform your vector items, or Photoshop effects. So the Photoshop effects, you don't need to take the file into Photoshop. You can literally apply those effects right here. And the one that we're going to work with was exactly under the texture, and is called grain. In this case, I'm going to use the grain. Oops, let me just zoom it out so we can see the entire area. I'm gonna go ahead and use the stippled, I guess is that's the way to pronounce it, stippled grain. Stippled grain. Oh my gosh, I just saw the time. We just got like 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
So really gotta rush here.
Yeah.
And make sure to give a nice contrast, although as you can see 83 is a really high contrast, so we were not really perceiving the beauty of the grain that was applied. So I'm definitely gonna bring this down a notch, and maybe you can just bring the intensity up if you wish, so you really have this distribution of the dots, going from having few dots to having more darker dots. Or again, if you have one more contrast, maybe I will put the intensity down a little bit, just like so. And once you're done with your grain, all you have to do is to press OK in order to apply it to your image, and then press the letter V in order to deselect and come back to your shape here. Fantastic. So now that we have created the hair, we can go ahead and sort of place them back to the previous hair. As you can see, we have, you know, different layer over there, but at the moment we're just trying to add these textures and give a little bit more of a feel to the illustration. So what I'm gonna do here is now head to the appearance panel and click on opacity, and then use the screen branding mode in order to place the grain. And let's see if there is anything else here that is not allowing that to work. Did we keep the white there? Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead. Usually it does the magic when I practice it before, but let's see, because what multiply does is gonna keep us the black, while with the screen, let's see if we
try overlay. See what
yes,
happens.
that was gonna be my choice. Usually with the grain, it's definitely too bright, because this overlay, it picks up all the white pixels. So what I will definitely do is bring the opacity down here. I believe that there is something else, there is some effect that I don't see, because even at the edges there was sort of like a glow. But that's the general advice that I will give when you are working with grain. So you can create the grain first, and you just need to use the black and white gradient, because when you go ahead and create the grain, it's just going to create then a black and white effect. And then have a play with the little, let's see if luminosity, still going to give us a lot of gray.
Got about a minute, so
Oh, no.
the point is play with blending modes.
Play with blending modes, and I'm gonna message then Lisa to give her a better result on this one, because I really want to make the screen work. But yes, so the whole idea was to start to create textures and grading using the Photoshop. And just one thing real quick, I'm just gonna use this lady as an example. Let's see if we unlock the layer. Do I have like 1 minute?
At most.
Okay, so I'm just gonna take this lady real quick, and I want to show you how to create that effect that Lisa did in the other picture. Select your illustration and create a shape, a circle if you want in that case, and then all you have to do is to click and drag. I'm gonna give this circle just like a solid color. Click and drag over both and press Command 7 in order to create a mask. Awesome. By doing so, you'll be able to mask your illustration and do the wonderful effect that Lisa did in her Behance portfolio.
Awesome. Well, looks amazing. Thank you so much for submitting the work, Lisa. We appreciate you submitting your work.
Absolutely beautiful work.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
So
I think it's time to
say goodbye.
Should we remind everyone that where is the place in order to
iamkladi.com/reworkit. iamkladi.com/reworkit. Make sure that you click on that button that says submit your design and just enter your information. Just want to say thanks to everybody for being with us in the chat. Sam, thank you so much for helping out. Eric says Glass Beaches on Spotify by Honeycane is a new good song. We'll have to check it out. And also stay tuned for Adobe Australia up next. Thank you so much for a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Emma. Emma's in the chat for submitting your work as well. Thank you so much.
And don't forget to submit your work for tomorrow. It's our last day of the year, so we're going to try to squeeze in as many people as possible. So if you haven't submitted your work yet, make sure to go ahead on iamkladi.com/reworkit. We look forward to feature your work and have a little play here at Rework It. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful night, a wonderful day, wherever you are.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.